Welcome to How'd You Do That? Today I have a very special guest, Marlo Higgins. Marlo Higgins is the CEO and founder of Chief Inspirational Officer, the author of Making of a Maverick, and host of the 22 Motivational Minutes. Welcome, Marlo. Thank you for being on our show today.
Oh, thanks, Nina. I love the title of your podcast. How'd you do that? What a fantastic way to start out. I love that.
Thank you so much. Right. Everybody wants to know, well, how did you make it to the top? How'd you do that? So here we are today. I forgot to mention, you've also been featured on the Forbes.com and has been a Forbes Coach Council member since 2016. That's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. It's a fun alignment.
Wonderful. So can you tell us more about yourself and what you do in your line of work?
Absolutely. So I'm a Chief Inspirational Officer. Really, I get the question, well, what is that? Well, that's executive performance coaching. And the story goes, I like to say that I'm a triple crown entrepreneur. And what is a triple crown entrepreneur, right? That's where I've had an opportunity to start a company with a concept or an idea. I was able to rebrand another company and take their organization and rebrand it and go through that whole space. And then I launched my own brand. So you can say from, those three different pillars. And that's really where my experience comes from. And so that first opportunity in 2005 with two other business partners as executives, we started with a concept and an idea, and we took it to 39 states, developed an international market. We're running a multi-million-dollar sales organization in less than 36 months. And that really was the game changer, right? So I had my business partner who had the idea and the product, and my other one was like legal and finance. And my role in that space was to be the vice president of sales, to start and oversee the sales team. And that's really where that really started out. And so a lot of what I do today in the executive coaching space is take the experience that I've had by having these opportunities to, take a concept, an idea, take a rebranded opportunity, and then to work with different professionals through my own brand. That's really where I'm at today. So I love people and I love performance. And when I say performance, it's like getting the best out of that individual that they possibly can, right? That there's nothing left. And it's striving for that excellence and not rewarding your mediocrity. So it's kind of a full-bodied persona.
Wonderful. That sounds so exciting. And what led you to this current path? I mean, I know you talked a little bit about it, but can you go into a little bit more detail and anything that you faced along the way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Being an entrepreneur kind of happened for me. And I think there's a lot of people that can say that, right? You get into a situation where it just kind of takes you into that space. And that's really where I found myself. It wasn't something I was naturally looking for, but it was through that opportunity where I was very active in the community. And my business partner said, hey, I'm going to start this company and you'd be the perfect VP of sales. Well, I'd never done that before, right? And so I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I said, why not? And so I put all the skin in the game and dedicated myself for 24 months just to really do everything I needed to. And, I adopted the mantra by Earl Nightingale that if you spend 45 minutes of study every day in your chosen field, you'll be a national expert in 5 years or less. And I really took that to heart. I just figured out how to launch a company, how to get people to the highest level of performance possible, how to take this product, how to teach people to be brand ambassadors, how to be good time stewards. I mean, it was full body, right? We had to figure everything out. Right. And that's really where it started from. And that's where I spend my time today is the concepts, the strategies that I coach on today are an extension of that experience because I know that I had to figure it out. I tested it, it's proven. And so therefore I share it with others.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And so, you've talked, about the Maverick ROI high performance system. So how does it increase your revenue, for any company?
Absolutely. No, and that's such a great question. What I found is going through that experience that I was witnessing that there are 4 key pillars of performance, and they are clarity, action, confidence, and risk. And it's really understanding, what you need to be doing in that space within those 4 pillars. And so understanding the high achievers, high performers, there's those 4 ingredients are very powerful. And so the Maverick ROI high performance system, it's a combination of strategies that feed into each one of those areas. So there are specific strategies that you can take to gain greater clarity, right? Take clarity to a granular level. then that kind of feeds into the actions that we take. And
Right.
when we are clear, we are taking action, we build our confidence, because then we start to, we get recognized for our accomplishments. And there's just a whole nother level of confidence that happens in that space. And when you marry all of those together, you become a very clear risk taker. And it's in that stretch zone, right? That magic is outside of the comfort zone. It's in there by taking risk that we get ahead.
Right. So it's very similar to that saying, the higher the risk, the higher the return. I think that's more of an MBA thing that everyone talks about. And I never understood it until now. And I thought, you know what? Okay. And I thought to myself, the higher the risk, the higher return. That also means that if you risk too much, then you end up losing a lot more.
Right.
But if you don't take that risk, you'll never know.
You sit on the sideline. Yeah. And it's always that what if, and I will never ever settle for what if. I'm going to say, why not? And look, that's much more powerful.
That's exactly it. Right. And so then, you seem very driven. And what makes and what drives you on a daily basis? What makes you that Marlo Higgins?
Right. I think that's like a God talent, right? That's just born within. Now, there's a difference. Inspiration is vision driven, like that's the vision of what's possible, but motivation's goal driven. And so if you need to be motivated, you need to have a really clear set of goals. And I think, once you understand, and of course, I've been in this thought leader space for quite a while, and I eat it, breathe it, live it, everything about it. It's where I need to be. But it's a match of like God talent. I mean, I think there's a lot of it. And that's why I was able, as an executive coach, to title myself a Chief Inspirational Officer, because it's in that natural space to be able to kind of take somebody and bring them to that space of what is possible for them. Because it's easy not to see that for ourselves, but that collaboration and that synergy can bring that alive. And when that happens, it just ignites so much more.
Wow. So would you say that so you call yourself a Chief Inspirational Officer. Are you a type of a chief officer that likes to inspire individuals? Is that what it means more of, or?
Well, it starts with one of those clear, the first pillar is clarity. And so many people get lost in the murkiness and we're just unclear. And like I said, all of the strategies that I take people through help them get to that level of clarity, that once they start to see that, then they can feel that. And when you feel it, you're fully empowered. And you just have this ability then to kind of, you're firing off on all those engines. And that's the space that I really love to help people get to. And it's kind of hard to get to sometimes. I mean, it doesn't come natural for most. And that's why I exist, is like, that's where I'm supposed to serve and say, hey, like, this is who you are, and like where you could possibly go with it. Right. And then it's, it's one thing just to kind of plant that out there, but you got to take the action, right? Because that's where you're going to get the result. So it's not coffee talk. There's an actual end game, right? There's a result. That's why we can get the revenue and the ROI.
Wonderful. So, I mean, I know you were just talking about success and how does your path lead to help others, and does it come naturally? And in addition to that question do the people that you talk to or the companies that you're dealing with, what level of people are you helping out?
Excellent question. Yeah. So I like to work with the high achievers and the high performers, right? Very masculine energy, people who are decision makers, people who like that bullet point style, because we vibrate at a level of action, and there's just a level of that. And I think that's what attracts the people that I serve. And so the people that want to take it to the next level, Jeff Olson writes a great book called The Slight Edge. And he talks about those top 2% of performers in the world. And, there's a lot of principles that go along with that. And I fully believe in that. And so the people that I work with are those high achievers, high performers, because generally, we are the end product in most times. Often the times that we serve, and I'm one of those people. I've just been born with that, right? And so I find challenge very satisfying. But it took me a long time to figure out that I love that challenge, right? Because there was like great satisfaction in it. So I don't settle for just mediocre. I just it's just no fun to sit on the side. I want people to be in the game, because when they're in the game, then they can come back and say, hey, look what I'm doing. Look what, like how I'm changing. And so, that's just kind of a full-bodied approach to who I serve, but decision makers and people who love to be challenged.
Right. And so you would be, I guess, you wouldn't be looking at individuals that don't have that drive. Then it's more so just the individuals that have the drive that you would actually take them, I guess, to the next level. Is that correct?
There's within teams, and it's the 1/3 rule, and people may resonate as they hear me describe this. So on any team, there's 1/3 of us. They're at the very, very top, and we're the independent, unbridled spirits, right? The ones who are self-motivated, and they're going to get it done regardless, right? It may be sloppy sometimes, but they're always going to get to the finish line. And then there's that second layer of leader, or that person, that performer, who wants to be in that space and get to the next level. But the thing that they're missing is they don't know how.
Right.
They don't have the right circle of influence, or they don't have the right connections, and they really don't have clarity on, like, how do I connect the dot and become that top 2%? And then that third position is that person who is that, I would say, like an ABC player, like that C level. Very important to have them on the team, but they have one foot out the door wishing that they could quit.
Right.
So when I describe that, who do you really want to spend the space on? 80% of us are in that middle range, right? We see the potential. We want to have the next, but we don't know how to get there. And that's 80% of us we serve in that space. And so Making of a Maverick, the book that I wrote, really goes into depth and describes that. So understanding your audience or understanding your team, like right now, a quick action, anybody listening to this, and if you're a sales leader, if you are the CEO of a company, if you literally were to chart out your organization and put them into 3 categories like ABC, you'll quickly witness, and then you spend your energy because, when you're speaking at the right level, that's when people are going to connect. Because if you're not, you're static. So if I sit here and I try to talk to high achievers and high performers, and I'm talking to somebody who's got a foot out the door wanting to quit, they're going to tune me out, right? Totally different radio frequency.
Right.
But when you run in a herd of Mavericks and high achievers and you get them in the same community to run the race full on fast together, they're going to challenge each other in a different way. And that's where the synergy exists.
That is so true. I completely agree with you, especially the fact that when you're not tuned in the same frequency, you're not going to hear it, like you mentioned earlier. So that's very well said. Now, can you talk more about your podcast, the 22 Motivational Minutes? I would love to hear more about that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yes. With having a brand and being a thought leader, I mean, there's different platforms to serve, right? And so we do the weekly podcast. And so that's like an audio version. So people can get a booster shot while they're in the car. And it's that quick 22 minutes where they're going to listen to an author or an expert or somebody who I find really fascinating, who has a really great message to share. And so, our intention of that is making it so good that you got to get yourself into the office, right? But the conversation is so rich, you got to just sit in the car and you got to finish the episode before you go into work because it's that good. So that's our intention behind it, and that's the energy that we bring into that podcast. But we also we have a YouTube channel, and that's our visual. So we have a weekly video training that goes out. It's totally complimentary, and then we have different ways of connecting in different ways, but the blog is the written form, podcast is the audio, YouTube is our visual. Yeah. Wonderful.
And tell me a little bit more about your book, Making of a Maverick, just so other, so the viewers and listeners can understand, what this book is about, and if they're thinking of getting it, they would know what they're getting into.
Absolutely. So when I wrote the book, it was taking 6 client case studies, actually. So it was telling 6 stories of clients that I'd worked with and the different strategies that I took those different people through, those clients through, and what outcomes came from our interaction together. And then it's married to their interview is a podcast. So you can go back, you can tap in, you can actually listen to the episode, you can read about the strategies, you can witness the strategy that we share on our YouTube channel. So it's kind of like a full-bodied approach to seeing high achievement and high performance kind of come to life. And, it was just my body of work. It was taking all of the things that I, have witnessed and just bringing them forward to create the awareness, like describing the ABC team. That's one of them. Just some of those key principles to learn from.
Wonderful. That sounds Sounds exciting, and I'm definitely going to, take the next opportunity when I can to get up to the chapters or Indigo and get that book.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. So
Oh,
it's just
okay,
a
even
click
better.
away.
That's
Click
even
away.
better. We all make mistakes, and I'm not saying that we don't, but we do. And if you did, what did you learn from your mistakes? Getting to the path that you are right now.
That is a very, very powerful question. And whether you call it mistakes or failures or whatever, I think it's mindset. It's really anchored in mindset. And when you have a powerful mindset, you can see success or you can see failure, or you can see them as the same thing, as one word, like learn. Like we're either going to learn from what went right or we're going to learn from where we failed. And so I think it really is just a mindset and keeping it at a neutral ground. And so we never really have to feel failure if we understand that if we treat them equally, that there's to be a risk taker, there's absolutely no failure in the risk, because regardless, you're going to come out of that circumstance, whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish, and you're going to learn from it, right?
Exactly.
Maybe you're going to get a taste of success, but what I try to do is position it in a way that there's never a failure, right? That there's never such a setback that you can't come out of. There is a mantra that a setback is a setup for a comeback. And so again, it's that mindset. And if you frame yourself that if you do have a setback, and just say, you know what, this is a setup for my greatest comeback. And if you tell yourself that, then you're neutrally going to operate in that space where you're going to just say, and why not? Let's go. Let's just do it.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it. Love it. So what is one thing that we can take away from your experience of your success?
Well, I'm self-taught and self-made. I doubled my income in a worldwide recession without a college education, right? Wow. I grew up in a single parent household. I was born in California, lived in Utah, moved to Minnesota, ended up in Iowa. And from that experience, at 19, I had rented a U-Haul from Minneapolis, and I moved out of state. Again, under the same premise of risk, like what's the worst that could happen? You rent a U-Haul and you go back, because I'm sure it could go both ways, right? It's not just a one-way road. And I think, that whole full-bodied essence of being a risk taker has come from just being kind of a scrappy leader, having to figure things out, didn't have the resources to get a college education, but it didn't stop me, right? I could have used a piece of paper as an excuse to be nobody. Right. But instead, I really listened to the value that I bring and said, I'm worth something. And that worth has brought me, I'm a published author, podcaster, Forbes contributor. I mean, like the list goes on, and I'm so grateful, right? I'm very grounded, but I've kept that tone of consistency throughout my entire life. And so I think just listening to that, if you're somebody who's listening to this episode and is feeling great failure, nobody can do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself. Right. You're the only one in the way. And I could have stopped a long time ago, right? I could have just thrown in the towel and said, I have an excuse for not making it. But rather I said, oh my God, the world's in my hand. Let's go for it. Right. So why not?
Isn't it amazing that when you can actually create something out of nothing, you get this general natural high? That you feel like, you know what, I actually did it. I did it.
Yeah. So and it's not easy, right?
It's like, not.
I mean, it's not easy, right? I've gotten into legal tangles with publishers. I mean, I had to go for, venture capital money. I've, had buyouts, sellouts, acquisitions, firings. But you know what? I stand tall. I consistently operate, and I know my worth. And I think it really, really comes down to knowing your worth. I mean, knowing that you belong here in whatever space that is, and own it. Just own it. You'll win every time. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can share with us, before we end this podcast, Marlo?
Like I said, I think you're the only one standing in the way. And we hear that all the time, and we do realize that. But, be with somebody, surround yourself with somebody who can ask you the really good questions and pull those answers out of you, because I will tell you right now, you have all the answers. It's fact. I've witnessed it time and time again that the people that I get to work with or I align with or the conversations I have, you have those answers, but sometimes it takes the right conversations, the right connections to pull it out. And whatever you do, strive to find who that is or where that community belongs for you, and be part of it. Show up and go up.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Marlo, you are an inspiration. I love your energy, and I'm so
Thank you.
glad that we've had this opportunity to talk today.
Thank you. Yeah, you're a delight. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And hopefully, if anything changes in the near future, we can have you back on again, and we can discuss what you're doing next.
Absolutely. Would love that.
Thank you so much, Marlo.
Thank you. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you very much. Have a good day.
You too.